Hi, I'm Emily Hargrave and welcome to Prime. Most procrastinators are spending their last week before Christmas doing the last minute shopping, a little bit like me. And shopping is fun, but we have to be careful. There are scams out there that we really need to know about. And I'm here with three special guests who will explain more to us. I've got John Riggins from the Better Business Bureau of Fort Worth, Mona Hernandez from the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and Gary Kennedy, Attorney Federal Trade Commission. So all of you, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you here because there's so much to talk about when it comes to what you have to watch out for. And this holiday season is I would imagine you all go into overdrive at this time of year. Is that pretty much right?
Absolutely.
So tell me, what are the key things that we all have to be looking out for at this time of year?
Well, if you cyber shop, for example, there are several key things to understand when you do that. One is to make sure that you don't give credit card information or personal information to an unsecure site. Those are the sites that are secure have an HTTPS on them.
Right.
And if you use a credit card, for example, as opposed to a debit card or a routing number or wire money even, you have many more rights with a credit card than you do otherwise with those other instruments. So knowing about the HTTPS and knowing about credit cards, using credit cards rather than a debit card, that can go a long way to cut down on sources of complaint.
So the S is the key.
Yes.
In there. And are you completely covered with all credit cards if a charge comes up there and that you're like, hold on a minute?
You're much more well covered. You're completely covered. Well, you know, who can say completely covered? But really, with credit cards, you have the additional consumer protection of saying this was an unauthorized charge, and the credit card company will go back to the business at that point.
Interesting. And how do the credit cards prove that it is an unauthorized charge? I mean, can you have people actually scamming the credit card companies the other way?
It works both ways. There's no question. Sure, it works both ways. But the consumer protection intended out there is one that originally it was limited to $50, where the first $50 would be the consumer's responsibility, but the practical practice of it has evolved to the point where the consumers are generally not paying the $50 at all. So if it's unauthorized, consumers can just reverse the charge.
How interesting. And I didn't know, I mean, we were talking earlier off camera, I didn't realize how much the Postal Inspection Service, Mona, was involved with, with scams, and following up on things like that. So tell me about their involvement in these kind of things.
Well, we have a very wide jurisdiction. As I mentioned earlier, we are federal agents, and our mandate is to guard the U.S. mail. Postal inspectors do a wide variety of things, from mail theft to identity theft, credit card abuse. We also investigate drugs in the mail, child pornography, mail fraud. So we see, as you mentioned earlier, we do see an uprise in scams during the holidays, unfortunately. And we've been, since 1872, we've been protecting American consumers from con artists who try to use the mail to bilk people out of their hard-earned money. And they'll often use economic trends and special events to scam people.
Special events in what way?
Well, like the holidays, for instance.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, and how do you, I'm out at work all day, how do I protect the mail that comes into my mailbox and sits there till 10 o'clock at night?
Well, there are several tips that we do provide to customers. One of them is, if you're going to be out of town, we ask that you call the local post office and put your mail on hold so that we're not delivering it while you're away.
Right.
If you're going to have a package delivered to your home, we ask you to consider having a friend or family member go by to retrieve that package. And if you're going to have packages delivered, maybe consider having those delivered to your workplace. I think the biggest key is not to leave your mail out overnight or for several hours. Always try to retrieve it as quickly after it's been delivered as possible.
Yeah, because I find that credit card statements come through and everything is on there of my,
Exactly.
you've got my whole number, you've got my address. And so there's, it slightly makes me cringe when I see that.
Right.
So
Well,
what happens in the case of, my identity, somebody's taken my identity, what would be the first thing that I would do?
contact the local police, contact us, file a report, contact the FTC. From there, we would advise you to pull a credit report and review your credit report to ensure that no additional accounts have been opened in your name. And then we would take steps to backtrack and try to see who was responsible for the identity theft.
Interesting.
One additional thing I would suggest that be done very quickly after you find out that you're a victim is to call one of the 3 credit reporting agencies and put on a fraud alert on your credit report. If you call any of the 3, they will contact the other 2, and with that fraud alert, at least as long as it is on there, no one can get credit in your name without your first being contacted directly. So that works out very well, at least in the beginning, until you can get an idea of what other steps you can take. It'll prevent, at least for a time being, future abuses of your credit information.
That's a great idea. And so who calls you? The credit agency will call you?
Well, what it'll happen is that when someone tries to obtain credit in your name, I don't think it will necessarily be the credit agency. Sometimes it is, but it would be the potential creditor would also have to make sure. It could be either the potential creditor or the credit bureau that calls you. The important thing is that no new credit could be obtained in your name without your personal okay.
That is, yes, that's a really good tip, and something that I would never have even thought of. And so the Federal Trade Commission and the Postal Inspection Service work very closely together.
Absolutely.
So they are, Better Business Bureau is very much are you the first people that everybody go to?
We are,
and
Emily, and we get so many visits per month on our website and so many telephone calls that typically these good folks bail us out when we get something that's too hot in the office. So that's why we're so grateful and work so closely with the group. When there's an identity theft problem, we know the Postal Inspector and FTC are experts at that and can give us good guidance so that we can tell other people, or we can just send it to them and help them.
Right. And email scams obviously are getting more and they're just getting more and more clever as time goes on because people understand how to get around the system. And so what would the main thing that you would say about email scams?
I would look out for something called phishing. Phishing, it's spelled with a PH.
Mm-hmm.
The phishing scams that we work on, it's every day now, can use any company name, typically use any company name, and if you click on that phishing email, it would take you to a website that you may or may not know this, but more times than not it's outside of the country, and then they'll ask you for personal identifiable information. Typically the information that you need to protect, otherwise you become victim of identity theft.
Right.
So these phishing scams can use and do use unauthorized logos. They've even used the Better Business Bureaus at times, and they'll click on a name that you might know, like maybe a Wells Fargo or an American Airlines or some really well-known company, and entice people to click on that site. But the real tip-off for consumers to know is that once you go to this site, it'll ask you for some personal identifiable information, credit card number, driver's license, social security number, and that's when it's time to shut it down and just don't do anything else on that site, just to not work on it at all. And you might even want to send your phishing, especially if it says Better Business Bureau on there, send it to us and we'll send it to the proper authorities so we can get that squared away, get that site shut down at that point.
Yeah, so that's the thing you need to look out for. That's the key, is to look. It's once they start asking you for detailed information.
Right.
It's funny that you mentioned that, John, because we recently worked a case, and it was a phishing case, and people were receiving emails. They looked like legitimate emails from Bank of America and Chase and Wells Fargo, companies that they trusted, were well reputable, and they would click on these emails, and as soon as they clicked on them, it would download a Trojan keylogger onto their computer, and essentially every keystroke they did was sent to the bad guys. So they then had their passwords, their usernames for everything, for their banks, online sites, for their email addresses. The information that these individuals obtained from our suspects was just immense and caused a lot of financial damage, not only to the customers, but to the financial industry as well.
Well, of course, it would do. Gosh, there's just so many things you've got to watch out for, isn't there?
And that's why that sometimes, especially when we talk to groups of senior citizens, we tell them, just don't even open spam email. Don't even open it.
Right.
Delete it without even opening it. Don't take a look and see what it's from. I have talked to a lot of people in various banks, and I've been told by them that a bank will never send you an email asking for your personal information. They
Right.
never will. If you ever get an email where that is requested, it's a fraud. It's something that needs to be deleted. But we tell people, if you're not sure who it is, and it's not some response to some email you sent out, just delete it.
Yeah, always err on the side of caution in all respects.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so we've got, just in our short time left, the holidays come along, refunds and exchanges. What do you find is the thing with refunds and exchanges that you can really recommend to the consumer?
Well, with refunds and exchanges, when you're physically at the brick and mortar business, there's a requirement to have a refund and exchange poster or policy clearly posted so that consumers know if they can get a full refund or a partial refund or what have you. You want to know how long that company's been in business. It's a good indicator of whether they'll be there after the holidays or not. And you want to know what the rules of the game are when you buy something from them.
Sure.
It should be stated on your receipt and or on the poster that they have at the checkout center.
And what happens if your merchandise never turns up very quickly?
If the merchandise never turns up and it's been mailed to you, that's your wheelhouse. Why don't you help us with that, Mona?
So then we call you.
It is. Call the delivering post office and see if the package was mailed. A lot of the packages that are sent, especially if they're high value, they're going to have some type of tracking information, and it's been mailed delivery confirmation or signature confirmation, and we have a way of tracking these packages to see where they are. So we can determine exactly where it is.
So everybody, you really need to, the Federal Trade Commission, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and the Better Business Bureau. Put those on your contact list. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. And for more information, you can go to fortworth.bbb.org. And good luck this holiday season. Hopefully you won't need it. Thank you. We'll be right back.